When I was young, I liked Pokemon, as most kids did back in the day. Despite being fairly young to the series, maybe about 6 or so, I played Pokemon Red and I loved it. Unfortunately, as I got into the double digits, I went through that horrible phase where I thought that everything I loved when I was younger was childish. Of course, this included Pokemon, so I missed out on Gold and Silver, Ruby and Sapphire, even Fire Red and Leaf Green. Though early on in high school, I managed to get my hands on Pokemon Diamond, and I found myself loving Pokemon all over again. I didn't like the game itself, although I far from hated it. The whole concept and gameplay of it reminded me why I loved the series in the first place. I went and bought everything I could. I managed to find a Fire Red and an Emerald in a local game traders, and I bought Heart Gold when it came out. Hell, despite having the remake, I even went back and played the original Red again. I'm even thinking of buying Yellow, as I never got the chance to play that. Because I had both Red and Fire Red, I felt that I needed both Gold and Heart Gold, but Gold was hard to find. Whereas in my game traders, who frequently stocked Yellow in the GBA games, they didn't stock anything from the second generation. This irked me, so I went online to find a copy. Sure enough, I found one going for, no, not $1, although that would have been nice, $20. It was the cheapest one there, so I bought it. It took about 3 weeks, but finally, it arrived. I opened the package up and took the golden colored game out and placed it in my limited edition Pokemon Game Boy Color. Well, it technically wasn't mine, but my brothers and I share all our game stuff as if it's everybody's, and they didn't want it when they moved out, so yeah. The game screen starts up like normal, but there was no save before me. I was a little disappointed, as I would have liked to see how far the previous owner had gotten and what team they had. Nevertheless, I had started a new game. I named my character Gold, generic I know, and my rival Silver, of course. The game played perfectly. That is, until I got to Violet City. Nothing was wrong with the city itself. Everything was fine. There was no creepy music, and I beat the monks at Sprout Tower no problem. Nothing was wrong. Except for something with Falkner. Don't get me wrong, his sprite wasn't decaying or anything like that. He didn't say anything weird before the battle, and none of his Pokemon looked harmed either. It was after the battle which was weird. Instead of talking to me, I immediately get the badge. After the badge get music finished and the Gold got the Zephyr badge text box that disappeared, he simply said, ... I pressed A and he went on. Tick, tick, tick. I then got the TM and was able to leave, but that was it. I tried talking to him again, but he just says the same thing. I talked to his one trainer in the gym to see if he still says the same thing. Surprisingly, he said something different from when I last spoke to him. He is waiting. Who is waiting? And for what? That was a bit creepy, but I saved and continued with the game anyway. After that, I'm a little surprised to see that the game isn't changed at all. It all plays out the way it's meant to. Maybe that was a glitch? I almost forgot about it until I came up to the next gym leader, Bugsy. The same thing happened. He said what was meant to be said before the battle, but after the badge was gotten, all he said was tick, tick, tick. And then the TM was obtained, and like Falkner, he'd just say the same thing if I tried to talk to him again. I made sure to talk to the trainers after I beat them before I took on Bugsy, and they said nothing out of the ordinary. However, after Bugsy was beaten, one said the same thing that Falkner's trainer did. He is waiting. I assumed that the other would just say the same thing, but I was wrong. The other one had simply said, hurry. As I progressed through the game, I built up my team, consisting of Typhlosion, Umbreon, Dragonair, Sudowoodo, and Togetic. I don't like to nickname my Pokemon. I feel they don't need one. but they were still my pals. I found that the storyline itself was fine. Not even Silver sent anything out of the normal from his usual dicky character, but all the gym leaders had said the same thing when they were beaten, and depending on how many trainers in the gym they were, I'd get new phrases. When I had beaten Claire, I'd gotten these phrases. He is waiting. Hurry. The badges must be obtained. He must be battled. The ticking must stop. By this point, I had assumed that this game was a hack, and may not have even been finished if there was nothing wrong with it outside of the gym leaders. I flew to New Barktown and went on my way to defeat the Elite Four. They all said the same thing when they were beaten. Tick, tick, tick. And of course, they still said that if you tried to talk to them again. It was getting annoying, but Lance was last, and I finally thought that ticking would stop. His team went down fairly easily thanks to both Sudowoodo and Dragonair. After his defeat, I was greeted with a ... Oh, great, I think, as I keep pressing the A button. But then he said, "Don't keep him waiting." All of a sudden, the screen goes black. Then the credits rolled. Just like that. No congratulations on beating the Elite Four, no Hall of Fame, just straight to the credits. The game restarts like normal, and I'm back in Gold's room. The game is normal once more, and I'm able to go into Kanto. This is the part I was most excited about when playing Heart Gold, and thus I was just as excited playing through it on the original version. I start off with Janine, who was the lowest level of all of Kanto's gym leaders. She goes down easily. Unsurprisingly, her text appears and all she says is ... I click A and she says something slightly different than the others. Don't keep him waiting. Tick, tick, tick. The trainers don't say the same thing either. In fact, all they just said was, well, nothing. I continue on, beating gym leader after gym leader, and they all said the same thing. By this point, I had 13 badges. I just needed to wake up Snorlax and get to the other side of Kanto. I caught it and headed back through Diglett's cave. But before I went to beat Brock, I went to Mount Moon to battle Silver for the last time. The battle was mine, of course, and Silver still couldn't believe that he lost again. But he says something slightly different than what he's meant to. I lost. Again. Gold, you should be careful. There's something not right. And then he leaves. He seems to run slightly faster than he did all the other times I beat him. However, I put it past me and continued on to beat Brock. Of course, he says the same thing the other Kanto gym leaders say when they're beaten. The same with Blaine. I now had 15 badges. All that was left was Blue. I actually call him Green, but the game called him Blue, so I will here too. The battle was close, but in the end, I win. Again, the badge get music plays automatically, and the text box with "Gold got the Earth" badge pops up. But instead of ellipses, I'm greeted with Gold's name. Gold. Stay away from Mount Silver. Don't listen to everyone else. Stay away from it. Everyone else? As in those who said he is waiting? And then it clicked. Mount Silver. Red. Red was waiting. But why did I need to stay away from him? I nervously clicked A, only for Blue to say, "For the sake of you and me, that ticking needs to continue." I don't know why, but that one sentence scared the shit out of me. But I continue nonetheless, going to Oak's lab and getting permission to go to Mount Silver. Blue's words still flew around in my head, but I was too curious not to go. And this was Red, right? You had to beat him in order to really complete the game, so in I went. I explored everywhere, grabbing all the items and looking at everything. Finally, I found him. He was looking the other way, of course, and I readied my Pokemon for battle and saved. Then I went up to him. I was met with his usual silence before the battle ensued. Pokemon Trainer Red went to battle. It was just as epic as it was in Heart Gold. I hardly cared that his Pikachu completely owned my team. But for some reason, I didn't white out. The screen cut back to the overworld, and for the first time, I heard, Red speak. Tick, tick, tick. Then the screen turned white and the text box read, Gold blacked out. For some reason, I find the ticking much creepier when Red does it. I then spent hours upon hours level grinding so I could beat this legendary trainer. I managed to get them all up to level 70, which I thought would do. After all, if my team in Heart Gold could beat his level 88 Pikachu and team at level 68, then my team in Gold can beat his level 82 Pikachu and team at 70. Armed with stronger Pokemon and a bunch of revives, hyper potions, and full restores, I was ready. I talk to him and again he says nothing. The battle starts and again out goes Pikachu. Sudowoodo's out first for me, and I get to use Earthquake. Red's Pikachu obviously goes first and it uses Iron Tail. Luckily, it misses, and Earthquake manages to take it down in one hit. Red then sends out Blastoise, and I didn't have any type advantages for it, so I countered with Dragonite, using Outrage to take it down. I do, but Blastoise has also done a fair bit of damage on Dragonite, and her health has gone down into the red zone. Venusaur was up next, so I switch out for Togetic. It's fast and hits first with its flying type moves, landing super effective hits. However, they don't do a good bit despite being super effective, and Venusaur unfortunately takes Togetic down. I didn't want to use my Typhlosion yet, as he was my highest level Pokemon, but I had no choice. One Fire Blast and Venusaur falls. Snorlax comes out next. Yet another Fire Blast and it takes off a bit more than half. One more and Snorlax also falls. Next is Espeon, and so Umbreon is sent out to take it on. Despite going first, most of Espeon's attacks are psychic and thus do nothing. A few feint attacks and Espeon faints as well. Charizard is last and I leave my Umbreon out. I use my turn to heal Dragonite fully before Umbreon is taken down in one hit by Charizard's Flamethrower. Dragonite then comes out, and 2 surfs later, Red's Charizard falls. I yell out triumphantly. I always feel so proud after defeating Red. It cuts back to the overworld, and as usual, Red has his text box full of ellipses. I press A, but instead of it fading to black and him disappearing, the text continues. Tick, tick, boom. I feel a jolt of electricity and automatically drop the Game Boy. After a couple of seconds to recover from that surprise, I look at it and see that it's turned off. I turn it back on, but it tells me that the save file has been corrupted. I went to try a new game, but it told me the same thing. Then I realized, after Red, there's nothing. Once you beat him, there's nothing left to do. The ticking was leading up to that. As long as Red was undefeated, everyone could continue existing. But I beat him, and so he destroyed their world. Gold's world, Blue's world, everyone's world. He destroyed it. He was waiting to. I should have listened to Blue. Because now all I can hear is ticking. And I own a digital clock. So always remember, for the sake of you and me, that ticking needs to continue.
you.